Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks a lot for joining. My name is Matthew. Today we're going to take a look back at Bitcoin fees across the network and see how things look relative to the trailing 12-month trend. So here we have again our fees, revisiting a couple videos I did a couple weeks ago. Just fees in dollar terms. Yes, this is not the native fee on the Bitcoin network, but we see that we have this spike here with the ordinal and the BRC20 JPEG frenzy that happened a couple weeks ago. This data goes until May 24th, which is 2 days actually, before this recording. That's where this data ends. And you can see that it was about 10 days from when it started to when it stopped. Okay, so the very end of April to roughly May 13th, May 14th was when the fee pressure subsided. Now, how was that in the grand scheme? Well, it definitely was a top 3 event, or a top 4. You can see that right here in 2021. We did have a couple spikes up to $31 here. And then of course the top here was at $60 in April 2021. Same thing happened in 2017, a little bit of a higher top. But getting up to where we did here, a little over $30, that definitely is a rare event. So the question is this over? Is it not? Of course, nobody knows. They had a big debate about this. They had many debates about this at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, and this is just going to continue to be a topic of conversation about what miners want to put into blocks, how much you're going to have to pay to put some of these ordinals, inscriptions, or JPEGs into blocks. All of that's just going to depend on how the network dynamics continue. But regardless of any of those factors, we can still answer the question, how does this stuff look compared to the all-time trend? And what's the best way to look at the all-time trend? I actually think not with a trend line in this case, because we see we have these spikes here. You know, I could do a linear trend line or a log or a power trend line. It doesn't really make much sense at the moment, okay? But the best way, as I've done before, is let's look at the fees versus the issuance, the 2 main components of revenue for miners on the network. And let's look at them as a percentage of 1, or how much out of 100% they represent. Okay, so first, issuance in, they're both in issuance here that I'm gonna show you, but one is in dollars, the other is in Bitcoin. I did a video on this a couple weeks ago. I won't rehash everything, but basically the bottom was, 83% or so, 82%, where the fees made up 18% of miner revenue at this time. Of course, the gross number was much, much less, but as a percentage, that was the bottom as far as issuance goes as a proportion of revenue. And then here in April 2021, it wasn't as bad. And then we can go forward to today, use the same understanding to see that the issuance component, with a block reward of the new coins that come out every 10 minutes via the protocol, that miners are rewarded with, that just before this fee spike, this fee pressure was on a trailing 12-month basis, in dollar terms, 98% of miner revenue, whereas after this little shakeout, it has fallen to 96.7% of miner revenue. Now let's look at this in BTC terms. Okay, it's a little bit different. All right, so in native Bitcoin terms, it's only 97%. All right, and what are native Bitcoins? 330,000 or so as far as the block reward goes on a trailing 12-month basis, and then 10,000 or so on a trailing 12-month basis for fees. That is roughly what it's been. So that's the split in native Bitcoin terms, and in dollar terms, we've been over 20 billion in this number. If you look back in 2021, or maybe not over 20 billion, maybe close to 20 billion. Now that number is only in about $8 billion, trailing 12-month basis. So that's the shakeout. Bottom line is fees are still a very, very small component of mining revenue. A lot of people say we need fees faster. No one knows when that cross will happen, where basically fees start to make up over 50% of this mining revenue, both on a per block basis or a per day basis or a trailing 12-month basis. No one knows when that's going to happen. But clearly, as we can see here, the immediate fee pressure has subsided from early May, and the trailing 12-month shakeout really barely moved the needle. And if nothing happens for another 12 months, we go back to, $1, $2, $3 fees per transaction, then this will go back up to 98% or so of the miner revenue being the issuance. Of course, no one knows when that's going to happen. You see, when fees spiked before, these were actually in the midst of great bull runs in Bitcoin. The end of one in 2017 and the end of the first top in 2021. Not a top at all or a spike in fees at all in November, the November 2021 top, which is interesting there. So no one knows when they'll cross, but that's the long-term view of this whole ordinal shakeout. It's barely moved the needle. You're still at 96.7% in dollars. Issuance component of the mining reward, 97% in Bitcoin terms for miners on a trailing 12-month basis, which is the way you want to look at it to really understand things, compare it to other markets. And that's how it is. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.